pressure you never see before. You don't show all your salary, giving your heart to authority. Because you see new Jew, you found a faith. Confusion can't just cut. Don't see your great and you swallow boom. And of course, I do it for Charles Johnson. Hey, Charlie, how you doing, man? This one is for you. I know you love this one. Don't see okra, and then you swallow bones. Okay, so let me start now. 1 minute after 9 o'clock. I know many of you already you are sitting by your radio to listen to this letter in totality that the President, His Excellency Dr. George Manawia, wrote Mr. Alexander Cummings. Mr. Cummings, who's he's the political leader of the Alternative National Congress. So we'll read the letter and we'll do some accentuation, and after which I'm sure all will talk about the contents of it. So let me begin. It's dated August 30, 2022. Mr. Alexander Cummings, Alternative National Congress, Monrovia, Liberia. Mr. Cummings, let me begin by stressing that as President of the Republic of Liberia, I have a constitutional responsibility to all citizens, regardless of their political, ethnic, or social persuasions. I've therefore endeavored throughout my tenure in office to ensure that stakeholders such as yourself have the requisite access that will afford the opportunity to raise views, positions, and concerns that you may have on various issues of national interest with me and officials of my administration. So when a communication supposedly meant for my attention appears first on the front pages of newspapers and on social media, it is obvious that the intent is to achieve a political objective, an objective that has eluded you at the ballot box. But I am glad that you have finally found your voice. Okay, let me just do a bit of explanation for you. The first thing is that I will continue with the letter. The President said he remanded the political leader of the Alternative National Congress, Alexander Cummings. He said, well, first of all, let me have you informed that as president of this country, I have a constitutional responsibility to all citizens. He said, regardless of your political interest, regardless of your ethnic connection, regardless of your social persuasions, I have that constitutional responsibility to all of you. And then the President went further. He said, let me inform you, therefore, that I endeavor throughout my tenure in office to ensure that stakeholders such as yourself have the requisite access. In another word, he's saying to you, I've done my part. I've done my best to ensure that individuals like you, Alexander Cummings, that you have access, that will afford you the opportunity so that you raise your voice, your views, your positions on whatever you want to say, whether about me or about my officials in government. I've done that. I've played my part. I've done everything possible so that that platform will be provided to all of you. The President went further. He said, so when a communication that supposedly meant for my attention. Yes, I agree. It is your responsibility. It is your it is your opinion. It's your right, in another word, to write me and express whatever concerns you have. But writing me is good. But for that letter to appear on the pages of newspapers, on social media, then it means, Mr. Cummings, your intention is political. It means maybe you are not really sincere with what you want to express to me. Because if that my letter, I expect that that letter will come to me directly and it will not appear in the media. But for you to write me and then you put the letter in the media, the letter appear on pages of newspapers, on the social media, then it means that you have an objective, which is political. The president continued. There is no doubt that the expressed action by the government of the United States to impose sanctions on 3 officials of the government is a matter of grave concern that carries a lot of weight. The president said, let me have it informed. Alexander Cummings, I'm highly concerned, especially for 3 of my officials to be slammed with sanctions. Is something that concerns me more than even you. The president continues. Not just because of the strong historical bonds that subsist between the 2 countries and the fact that they are our traditional ally and foremost international partner, but because the fight against corruption is a key priority of my administration, for which we've taken manifold steps to eradicate it. The president said to Alexander Cummings, let me explain this one. He said, I'm concerned highly that 3 of my officials can be slammed with sanctions. And I'm concerned again because my fight against corruption is something that no one can question. I've fought against corruption and I will continue to fight against corruption. That's the reason why when the United States government took the decision or took the measures against my 3 officials, I took manifold steps to eradicate. He said, my fight against corruption cannot be questioned. The president continued. The bilateral relationship that Liberia and the United States share continues to grow from strength to strength. He said, Cummings, if you're not aware, the relationship that this country has with the United States government of Liberia, that relationship continues to grow from strength to strength. That is, every day almost, that relationship is growing. As a leader, I took immediate action when the United States recently accused officials of the Liberian government of impropriety and graft, and I informed the nation of further pending actions. He said, I didn't fold my hands, Cummings. I'm concerned, just as anybody would be concerned. In fact, you may not even know that I'm concerned more than you. 3 of my officials to be slammed with sanctions, I'm concerned. And this is the reason why I took actions. And I even announced that there will be further pending actions. Not that I've sat and folded my hands. No, I didn't. Because I'm concerned that 3 of my people can be slammed with sanctions by the United States of America. Besides that, let me tell you, Cummings, that the relationship that we have with the U.S. continues to grow from day to day, from strength to strength. The president continues. I am glad that the United States and other international partners also recognize the strides that Liberia is making towards consolidated democracy and good governance. He said, let me have uniform Cummings. I'm so happy as president of the Republic of Liberia that the United States, and not only the United States of America, but other international partners, they've always recognize the strides, the gains that we are making as a country to consolidate democracy and good governance. That is to strengthen and uphold the tenets of democracy, which I, as president of Liberia, I continue to uphold. The president continues his letter. He said, in recent years, for instance, we have instituted more measures to fight corruption than was ever done when you served in government. This is it. The president said, let me have the form comments. I don't think you should be even question our commitment, our fight to corruption. Because we've done enough. We've shown all of our will. We've shown all of our powers in fighting corruption. Then even the government that you served in did. You see it here. And let me just, like I said, I'm accentuating what the president said. I know all of us who are listening were in this country. When a certain president, to blame for the pillage or to blame for financial impropriety or to blame when no car was bankrupt. We saw it here when funds came in and Ebola money and there were individuals who were caught. And we heard it when the former president said, well, I take the responsibility. When the Tobanians were in the rest, were caught in audit reports. We saw it here. But the president said, I have never done that. I will take blame for my officials. And that's the reason why when that sanction was announced, I immediately took an action. I suspended my people. Let's move on. 2 years ago, we convened local and international stakeholders to discuss ways in which the historical menace of corruption can be tackled. We also sponsored a major gathering of Liberia's judiciary to ponder over statutes that have tended to inhibit the fight against corruption. He said, as part of actions I have taken, my government will sponsor the gathering of the judiciary, that is of lawyers. The people sat down and looked at the statutes and laws that they felt that will hinder corruption, that will hinder the fight against corruption. Those gatherings were sponsored by my government. Then why would you say that maybe I'm not fighting corruption or I tolerate corruption? Not at all. I don't. The president continues with the letter. He says suggestions from these gatherings were included in the new LSCC Act recently passed by the Liberian legislature. They has given us much international acclaim, including from the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, which positively appraised my administration's effort at fiscal prudence, macroeconomic stability, projected growth in spite of global inflation, and other good governance measures in its recent statement on Liberia. He said, you see that? Because of some of those gatherings that we sponsored, bringing lawyers together, the judiciary, to look at those statutes, those laws that will hinder the fight against corruption. Some of those gatherings were able to produce suggestions and were able to include those suggestions in the new LSCC Act that the legislature passed recently. He said, as a result of that, the president said, International Monetary Fund, the IMF, international institutions, they've continued to speak positively of my administration. They praised my administration. And they also thank us for the fiscal prudence being wise, when talk about fiscal prudence, talk about our wisdom in making sure how we expand the country's resources. Those are things the president is talking about. Our macroeconomic stability. Before then we came, there was cash shortage. Today, there's serious stability now on the market. If you went to the bank, you can get your money out quickly. Projected growth because of all of the actions that we took. Today, those international acclamations are coming to this government. I continue with the president. It is therefore the height of democracy when a person such as yourself, who dined and wined in the very system I am working so hard to fix and never muster the courage to speak, now wants us to believe that you have morphed into an advocate of the people, the same ones you neglected during the years of civil upheaval. The president is just saying in clear terms, for you to come up and to want to question some actions I have taken, or to want to condemn some actions that I've taken, it's just a height. It just shows the level of hypocrisy. When a person like you, Alexander Cummings, when before then you dined and you wine, you enjoyed yourself, you drank, you ate and you enjoyed yourself in the same very system that I'm working. Today I'm working to fix the system. Yesterday, you basked in the system. You enjoyed yourself. You could not even fix the system. Today, I'm fixing the system. And then you today, you feel that you've now mustered the courage to speak, and you want to act like you are an advocate for the people. The same people yesterday, during the war years, that you abandoned, you couldn't even think about. Now today, you think you want to be advocate. I'll continue with the president. Where was your voice, Mr. Cummings, when 60 plus concessions awarded by the government in which you served were found to be bogus, illegal, and inimical to the interests of the Liberian people? He said, you were here yesterday. You were serving in government. Where were you? Were you not speaking out? When you knew that there were 60 plus concessions that were bogus, that were illegal, that did not even represent the interests of the people, that were damaging, inimical to the interests of the people. Where were you then? Why you couldn't serve them as advocate for the people? But you were here yesterday, you were serving in that government. The president questioned again. Where was you? Where was your voice, Mr. Cummings, when the National Oil Company of Liberia was rendered bankrupt? I spoke about this earlier. We said, where were you? Where was that voice? That voice now that has turned to be an advocate for the Liberian people. Where were you? When concessions yesterday, where bogus concessions were passed, that didn't even interest the people. That didn't even match the survivability of the people. Where were you? Where were you again? When the National Oil Company was rendered bankrupt, you were serving then. You could have never spoken. Where were you? Where was your voice when cries for the pavement of a short stretch of road from Ganta to Yekepa could not be carried out because your administration, for pecuniary gains, then asked the concessionaire to default on their commitment enshrined in their agreement? Where were you then? Why you couldn't serve as advocate? At the time, that stretch of road from Ganta to Yekepa could not be carried out because your administration then, for pecuniary gains, then asked the concession to default. That the concession should default. Something that was in that concession, the people should default on it. For some kind of gains to come to you and your government. But you couldn't say anything yesterday. So as a result, that road was abandoned. Where was your voice when the central bank was crippling, on a staggering, unfettered, borrowing by the government in which you served, undermining the nation's strategic reserves, and leading to a weakened monetary environment? Where were you? Where were you yesterday? That's the question the president is asking. When the central bank, in fact, when the government of the day was borrowing from the central bank, what were you? Today, you see what has happened. The central bank now is independent. Government doesn't go any longer to go and borrow as it was done in the past. Mr. Cummings, you were then serving. What were you? You couldn't even serve as advocate at the time. The central bank, the reserves, everything were being tampered with. Where were you? The president continued to ask. This is but the tip of the iceberg of humongous cocktail of mismanagement, graft, ill governance, and insufficiency that happened right under your nose while you maintained a loud and conspicuous silence. You were silent then. Your silence was very conspicuous. Anybody could see your silence and even feel your silence. What were you? The president said some of the things I had named, they are just a tip of the iceberg of many of the mismanagement, many of the graft, the ill governance, the insufficiency that happened right under your nose, Mr. Cummings. You didn't say anything. You didn't say anything. No car went bankrupt. You didn't say anything. Concessionaires could not carry out that responsibility. Those things that were in the concession, in the agreement, they couldn't carry out because for some pecuniary gains, your administration asked them to do for you. Then you couldn't. A few months ago, you were accused of forgery by some leaders of your CPP group and was afforded the opportunity to go to court and be heard. Now, you are saying that others should be deprived of that same opportunity to due process. Let me remind you that the very U.S. government that you referenced called for due process and the application of Liberian law, as was stated by Ambassador McCarthy when he unveiled their destinations. We stand ready to support government of Liberia in pursuit of its own investigation of corruption in its jurisdiction, understanding that you will apply Liberian law in an appropriate, transparent, and timely manner. The president is saying, a few months ago, let me remind you, maybe you forgot. Yesterday you were dragged to court for, what was the term they used? Yes, for tampering with your CPP framework document. You changed some words there. So they drag you to court. Now you are saying that other people, and you had the opportunity to be paraded. Before the court of law. But now you are saying that other people should not have that opportunity of due process. But let me have it informed, the same American people you're making reference to, they ascribe to due process. And they even indicated that they will support my government in whatever investigation of corruption through our legal process. They will support my government, and they know that it will be transparent because the people themselves ascribe to the rule of law. But here you are, Commissioner. You are saying other people should be deprived. When yesterday you had the opportunity, you were paraded when you tampered with the framework document and your colleagues drag you to court. You cannot resort to selective amnesia in these grave matters, Mr. Cummings. It is also disappointing to note that your reference to a vote by the Liberian Senate to change elections magistrates and your call on me to veto this decision by the Liberian Senate, as a former senator, let me take this opportunity to school you in the workings of the Senate. You see that? The president said he wants to school you. He wants to educate you now. Take your pen and your paper so you can learn this one here. The legislation in general and its relationship with the executive in the passage of laws. The president, let me school you how it works. How the legislature, they do their build business, and how it comes to the executive and our role we play. Take the pen and the paper, let me school you. A vote by the Senate on any bill does not come to the desk of the president. A vote by the Senate requires concurrence by the House of Representatives before it is submitted to the office of the president for his signature or veto. You see it then? The president is saying, take your pen and your paper, let me school you some more, let me educate you. Maybe you don't know. Before I became president, I served in the Senate. I understand the workings of the Liberian Senate. I understand the workings of even the lower house. I understand the workings of them. So let me school you. Take your pen and your paper. And the president indicated. He said a vote by the Senate on any bill does not come to the desk of the... No! Any bill from the Senate doesn't come to the desk of the president. A vote by the Senate requires concurrence. So before it comes to the president, it must go to the House of Representatives for concurrence. In another word, for agreement. And so when they agree now, when the House of Representatives agree, then it can now be submitted to the office of the president for his signature or for his veto. Mr. Comments on what the president is saying. In this instant case, this bill did not emanate from the executive branch, nor does it have its support. The continuous fear-mongering by you and others in the opposition seeking to prematurely cast aspersions on the sanctity of our electoral process in the face of the excellent track record of the number of free, transparent, and fair elections which have been held since my incumbency, many won by candidates of the very opposition, is duplicitous and dishonest. See the president? You see the president? You listen to him? He said, we've done our part. He said, there are attempts by some of you to discredit our electoral process. But the same electoral process, many of you, the opposition, we held elections. Elections were free, fair, and credible, as claimed by the international community. And many of you who did win, that you won. That you won. We don't want you to be disingenuous, to be dishonest about the process. Let me remind you and other members of Liberia's traditional elitist political class that in spite of the political, economic, and humanitarian carnage you have caused for over a century, and still feel an uncanny entitlement to the office, and now occupy and assumed leadership through a peaceful, democratic, free, and fair process in which the people of Liberia gave me an overwhelming mandate, an election that you participated in. You remember him again, and received a dismal 7% vote of rejection. You heard what the president said? He said, we'll not allow in another world for you to always think that you can be disingenuous about the electoral process. But let me remind all of you, in spite of the political, economic, and humanitarian carnage you have caused for over a century. He said many of you were involved. Many of you, just for the presidency, because you want to occupy the office. He said, this office that I occupy, I assumed the leadership through a peaceful. He said, I didn't use the barrel of the continent of the world. He said, I didn't put the young men in the streets. I didn't drug them. I used peaceful means. I went to the democratic process. In fact, there were times I went to elections and they said I didn't win, I accepted. I didn't go protesting, oh, why I didn't win the election, oh, why no, I didn't go protesting. I remained peaceful until the appropriate time when the people put their mandate in me. They said, Mr. President, you now can be our president. You see, I was not acrimonious in that. No. I was peaceful. So I expect that all of you will be peaceful as well. He said, in fact, let me remind you. Let me remind you. The election that brought me to power, you partake. You partook in the election. And how much? What did they vote to God? Just 7%. I don't know whether Mr. Cummings can remember that again. He said, I'm a man of peace, a man of integrity. I paid my dues to my country for decades, long before I was given the mandate of leadership by the Liberian people. This was done at great personal risk, particularly during the war years. I doubt you were anywhere around to fully understand what this truly means. He said, you see me serving as president today? That sacrifice I paid it long since. Long since. Not now. I was with my people during the war years. During the war years, I didn't play any part to come and destabilize the country. No. My focus was for our country to return to civility. My focus was for the peace to return. And that's the part I played. I didn't play any part trying to support carnage and trying to support the wars. No, I didn't do that. I left the comforts of Monte Carlo, the comforts of Paris, the comforts of Milan, and the comforts of New York to help my people who were distressed due to war. Many days I flew from Paris to Bujumbura in Ghana, from Monaco to Conakry in Guinea, and from Paris to Abidjan and Danaled in La Côte d'Ivoire to lend a helping hand to assist my people who were in dire straits in refugee camps. The president is reminding all of you. He said, you see me here today serving as president? I paid that price long since. Long since. The sacrifices. I left my comfort zones and I came to my people. I went to refugee camps where my people were languishing and I gave them aid. Because I'm a man of peace, I wanted the war to end. Besides, I'm a humanitarian. That's the reason why I took time off to go to refugee camps. I left my comfort and I went to those places, providing food to my people, giving my people aid, giving some of them monies. Did you do it? I suspended my career to join UNICEF as a goodwill ambassador, free of charge, and at great personal cost to support the international efforts to end the war and help these armed child soldiers. You heard it again? The president said he suspended his career. The president used to be with the UNICEF. He didn't have his children here. He could say, well, let me continue to work with the UNICEF, to remain in my comfort zone, and my children are not there. But the president said no. Despite I don't have children, but I have family members. I have my people, my Liberian people. Let me go to those camps, Bujumbura. Let me go to Conakry. Let me go to Ghana. Let me go to Danane, Ivory Coast to see my people. And the president did all of that. Besides, the president joined the UNICEF as a goodwill ambassador, free of charge. They didn't pay him. They didn't pay him at all. They didn't pay him at all. In fact, many of what he did was at his personal cost, his personal expense, to support the international effort to come and disarm our young brothers and sisters that were carrying arms. Where were you then? The records are there. You know, one of my colleagues won't go to meetings and the records are clear. The records are there. But none are as blind as those who do not wish to see. Where were you then, Mr. Cummings? Where were you? When I was flying, leaving my comfort. I was living in Monte Carlo. I was living my comforts in Paris. I was living my comforts in Milan. I was living my comforts in New York to help my people. I was flying in Paris, from Paris to Bujumbura camp in Ghana, from Monaco to Conakry in Guinea, and from Paris to Abidjan. Where were you? I was doing that because of the love I have for my people. I know that by this response, I have inadvertently accorded you the attention you have long sought in order to revive a dead political statue for which you issued weekly press releases and statements which make unsubstantiated claims. You say, okay, by this response now I know. You've been looking for attention from me. You've been wanting for you and I to sit down and talk. You've been wanting for you and I to exchange communication. So I know now you are happy, Mr. Combs. I'm sure you are happy. My response now, at least, you got the attention you wanted now. I've given you the attention. Because all in all, you've been, your whole political statute, in other words, has been plummeted. So you've been finding a way to resuscitate them by releasing press releases, press statements to our people. And in fact, not only releasing those press statements, but you've been making unsubstantiated claims, things that are not even true. You've been trumping them because you wanted attention. However, I owe it to the people of Liberia, the general public, and to people the world over to correct these completely erroneous characterizations that you and your clique continue to spew out. He said, it is my responsibility because I owe it to my people. You know, there's this saying that we have a gullible society. What people believe is just what they're wrong with. So I'm on an obligation, I owe it to my people to come and clarify some of those erroneous and hoaxes and some of those lies and innuendos and falsities that you continue to embellish, and spew out and telling our people about our moral obligation to come and clarify things to them. The Congress for Democratic Change, now the Coalition for Democratic Change, has a history of utilizing its internal mechanisms to chastise leaders who violate the laws of the party, including expulsion from the party of even its chairpersons. Can we say that about your party? Perhaps you should speak to the founding chairman from who you bought your little party. He will tell you about the strong ethics of zero tolerance for improper behavior within the CDC. He said, can that be he said, in my party, we have internal mechanism that can even affect the chairperson. He said, we can suspend people. We can take actions. But can that happen in your party? Has that happened before? Yes, never. Yes, never. So don't say those things about me tolerating, misconduct. No, don't say that. Because our party will have internal mechanism in dealing with our people, unlike your party. Let me say, for the record, that Representative Solomon George and all opinion leaders in the Coalition for Democratic Change are further cognizant of my publicly held position on the maintenance of the country's hard-earned peace and the rule of law. His recent statement was out of order. It was no surprise, therefore, that he wasted no time in setting the record straight about what they truly intended to convey. But the insincerity on your part becomes so palpable when you are up in arms, pandering to the public gallery because of his comments. When you will not garner the same courage to rein in an agitator of a lawmaker within the ranks of your own party who constantly threaten violence. He said, yeah, you are. The little statement made or the statement made by Representative Solomon George, you bet on it again. You started running with it, trying to link my party. But you have a man in your own party. You have a man that you are associating with. Every day he's an embarrassment, in another word, to the legislature. In fact, I was just going through one story that the House of Representatives has, in fact, ordered some investigation for him. And you have him there. He brings that body into public disrepute. You don't speak, you don't say anything. But you're running and picking on Representative Solomon George. This double standard removes any moral authority to offer advice on what rightful path the country ought to take. The president is saying, what a moral voice, what a moral authority you have. When there are things happening in your right under your nose, even in the government you served, there were bad governance, there were misappropriation, people were being, there was bankruptcy of no car, you didn't say anything. Now you have a political party or you have political individuals that you linking yourself with. They often bring that body into public disrepute. You don't say anything, but just what Representative Solomon just said, you started picking up on it. Where is your moral? What moral standing have you to even determine what's supposed to be done in society morally? I have no history of violence. My rise from Monrovia slum is publicly documented. It was through hard work, respect, dedication, and commitment that I claved my way out of poverty. But I have never forgotten my roots. So there is a reason why your attempts to conflict who Liberians and the world actually know me to be have not gained much traction. The president said, people know me. They know that I'm peaceful. They know that I've been an advocate. I'm a humanitarian. I'm someone who believes in promoting good governance. I'm someone who people know to be holding up to the tenets of democracy. So all that you're saying you're doing to make me to understand and accept what you are saying or thinking about me. I do not condone violence in any form whatsoever. It runs contrary to my belief. I have made that clear in all my public statements. It is therefore malicious that in your seeming desperation to be president, you trumpet anything and everything that comes to mind, including your disingenuous post that I condone violence. Let me emphasize again. The president is saying, I've never and will never, if I were a man who can condone violence, I would have never been part of the war to disarm our fighting forces, because the UN, the people knew that I was innocent, that I never played any part. They asked me to be their goodwill ambassador, and I came. In fact, at my own personal expense, I took that assignment free of charge. I didn't get any money, but I did things because I'm a man who believes in peace and want to see my people to enjoy. Let me use this opportunity to remind you that our democracy, though nascent, is being consolidated over time with the holding of many free and fair elections, some of which were lost by the ruling party. I can assure you and others of your like that my commitment to a free, fair, and transparent process in 2023 remains unbending. President said, let me tell you, Alexander Cummings, that I remain unbending. That the election come 2023 will be free, fair, and transparent. As the other by-elections have been, so this national election will be. So you have to remove that fear, because I'm under that obligation to ensure that our democracy continues to be consolidated every time. I, George Manawia, will be putting myself forward for a new mandate from the Liberian people, and I'm confident of a resounding second mandate based on a solid record of tangible deliverables in spite of huge challenges. Let us take the debate to our people, because they are the ultimate decision makers on the issue of leadership in Liberia. Instead of seeking to use unconstitutional means to circumvent the democratic process, come and face me at this ballot. That's an open challenge now, Alexander Cummings. The president said, you don't have to say all those, you don't have to trump up lies and innuendos. Come and face me. The time is coming, 2023. Come and face me. Let's take the debate to the people and see whether the people will listen to you or they will listen to me. Never again will Liberia return to the dark days of violence. All those wanting to take state power must therefore submit to the will of the Liberian people, because it is only through peace, unity and development and democracy that our beloved nation can prosper. Best regards, George Manawia. That's it. Let me just take a breather and I'll be right back quickly.
It's like music.
Let me open that. Okay, so let me open the lines quickly. 0776-540-987 or better still 0880-514-096. Just for a few minutes, at least so that you can have your thought, your input as well. 0880-514-096 or better still 0776-540-987. The first caller is on the line quickly. Let me take this caller. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
How you doing?
Thank you very much. Let me say thank you for the expose. William, people defender.
Okay.
Someone said it all this morning. Remember that we are talking on a woman. It's going well. If we don't understand the affair of liberal issue, what I say is that the same stuff doing but not learning in school. That full level, some of the work all that we have to budget government. All I get a responsibility. See? That's why we are doing opposition for. When anything happens in the country, they want for the it can't happen like that. When that comes to usually the black after the week, they come on the other you can't do that. See? All that happens the way the peaceful man. He winning your CDG.
Oh, he's off the line. We're hoping that he can call back. He's off the line. Let's take this local on the line. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Sober George, and good morning to the peace-loving people of Nigeria.
Good morning, sir.
My name is David Galago Wise, and I'm phoning from the headquarters of the Veterans Bureau in Bagwe Avenue to community this morning. And let me just thank you for your, expose this morning. Quickly to the issue that has to do with the president's letter to Honorable Alexander Benedict Cummings. Mr. Cummings, out of his usual political bravado and selfishness, always try to show, to be showy and ostentatious by writing the president on Facebook, and on blueprints. It's very much unfortunate and childish. Recommending that the designated government official be disrobed and dismissed without due process. Forgetting to know that when he and Alexander Benedict Cummings was sanctioned or was accused of authoring the CPT document, he was getting a due process in this country where he exonerated himself of providing pieces of evidence. And then, he and Alexander Cummings, there is something, there is something called mandatory reconsideration. When you are sanctioned by any government like the United States of America, where you are given the opportunity in the court of competent jurisdiction to question whether the sanction you've used or the reason you've been sanctioned for are justifiable. And if the reasons are not justifiable enough, you could be given what we call a mandatory reconsideration. So, Mr. Alexander Cummings, the recommendation to the president that those people should be dismissed is very much unfortunate. It does not understand the workings of our law.
Okay. Many thanks. Let me take this other corner of the line also. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning to the people of Liberia.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, I'll call you from Monrovia.
Okay.
Someone you see sometimes when already expose people that how it can work.
Mm-hmm.
You communicate with the president respond to you. You told that kind of communication on wire. What do you want to prove? But you see, sometimes I love the way the president engaged them.
Mm-hmm.
Because he need to now bring them to their knees. Because the kind of thing that the president of this country has done for this country and will continue to give him back what he did for us. You know what it meant for somebody in the 90s to forgo all of his pleasure opportunity and come to this country and was disarming people? Those days now could not just easily move to Bangla.
Mm-hmm.
You could not move to certain part of Liberia. But this old man will come and move into those areas to discourage young people, from the use of weapons against their own people. Then today you said that here you want to see you deal with 7%, you want to talk to somebody. You tell them when they do want to play basketball with Michael Jordan. It's unfortunate.
Okay. Many thanks. Let me take this other call on the line. Let me take this line quickly. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Hi, Potato from Provocan Barrow of Maryland County.
Oh, from Maryland. Let's hear from you.
What all the president is doing, people that how they can see it.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that the president will for the second time. Thank you.
Okay, many thanks. Let me take this caller. Good morning.
Yeah, thank you so much. I wouldn't get even people defend on my phone went up.
Okay.
Thank you very much for the topic. As I said when you just said, you see, just the men were playing football abroad. It meant that everything, let me, in corner career, they don't bring peace in abroad. They say they may not be too.
Yeah.
They happen in the country. Here, you saw cities from just what happened in America. So when I agree with it, when you say, you say, you say that time, and then you stand up, you say, the man president now.
Mm-hmm.
See, all this happening in the country. You see that? You don't take on social media. All the things that happen
as someone that can condone violence?
Yeah, thank you very much, my brother.
Okay, man, let's take listen, Minister Ivan Weiser was trying to make his call. He's trying to make his way quickly through the phone. Okay, let's see what happens. Mr. Minister, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you, the great Sober George. I mean, I'm elated this morning when I listened to the veracity and tenacity in your tone you have. Is that the president's letter had really invigorated the spirit in the Sober George that I know. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of, I said, wow, that is the Super George. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, thank you for being able to dissect and synchronize all of these genuine and strategic arguments that the president has raised, and we want to join you in this light. So we assign towards the position of the president. You know, people like Kumi who are low-profile political pedestrians are doing everything possible to think that they can get relevance at the expense of Liberia parties. Excellency President George Manawia. The president was very succinct when he cataloged his contributions, his achievements, his services as a Liberian citizen to the war time, and he meaning humanitarian gestures. Then he also provided another position that when we were talking about ills in government, as far back as the establishment of the Congress for Democratic Change, now Coalition for Democratic Change, where were this man when Nuka went Penrod, when the education system was a mess, when Harry Green died in murder in cold blood, when Shaki Kamal was butchered in West Point? What was this man with Marco Alizine, when 68 book of concessions were signed? What was this man when $14.4 billion foreign investment came? And there was no equitable distribution of the natural resources to the masses of our people. Do you have the moral gravitas and the moral democratic credential to question us anywhere about anything yet? But again, the empty drum makes the louder noise. You know, people who went to the democratic process 2017 could not even win a single district. You know what I'm saying? So it's not a talk to the presidential race. He's trying to just seek relevance. The last even asked Joseph Imam Parker support. So in conclusion, let me ask Joseph Imam Parker. When Imam Parker attempted to put a bomb on the president, when the president came out for him, today he has gone into perpetual political incommunicado. We know that what the president said, they are nothing but the truth, but the facts, and that's why people like Alexander coming now who do not have the moral. Look at Yeke Koluba in his ANC. He talking about Solomon Doe here and there. What happened to Yeke Koluba when Henry Costa said on national radio that don't serve it, they took bombs at the ground of the capital building? He did not debunk Yeke Koluba. He did not debunk Yeke Koluba when Yeke Koluba continued to insult the presidencies of this country. So these people are just, look, you know, when people who fail to make peaceful revolution possible, we intend to make violent revolution possible. The less of comments are immaterial in terms of electability in this country.
Many thanks, Mr. Minister.
Thank you. So the best thing they can do now is to refer to this kind of gimmicks and ordinary versionary attacks. But the president been very focused, been very fiery,